here. Whatever life throws at us, we'll face it together. As a family.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel just released a second Fantastic Four trailer in IMAX format that reveals a bunch of extra footage that wasn't available to be seen in the regular version of the trailer. And we found out a little bit more about what's going on with Galactus and Franklin Richards in the movie, why Galactus comes to Earth in the first place, and why he needs Franklin Richards so badly. All because he's actually coming to Earth to get Franklin Richards' help, not to kill him, which is a big deep cut for the comics, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. And because it is Super Bowl week, there's going to be a bunch of trailers for everything. I'm expecting a big Thunderbolts trailer with a real look, like a full-on look at Sentry and some new Superman footage. We might see some extra Fantastic Four scenes that weren't in the last trailer. If they do release them, of course I'll do a new video for that too. Sometimes what Marvel does during the Super Bowl is that they'll release a full trailer separate from the actual game, then during the game they'll just release a shorter version of that original trailer. But in the new footage, both the regular version and the bigger IMAX version of the trailers, they feature a couple battles that they have with a couple different villains in the movie. Some of them are just supposed to be lesser villains, like this battle they're fighting in the street next to the movie theater with Sue Storm, the Fantastic Car behind them, and all the debris. Might be them fighting Mole Man, he's supposed to be in the movie, Silver Surfer, or Red Ghost. I think that's who we've collectively decided John Malkovich is playing, Red Ghost. My early theory right now, because we know that Mole Man is going to appear in the movie, if you look at the promos they released at Comic-Con, it has Subterranea here. That's a big Mole Man Easter egg, but he's not meant to be like a real big villain in the movie. They're just going to feature him in some way. My theory right now is that Paul Walter Hauser is playing Mole Man. That just feels right. He just feels like he would do a decent Mole Man. Julia Garner is supposed to be playing Shala Bal, who is Galactus' current herald in this universe. I think that's what's going on when they're saying that it's Silver Surfer as his herald. I don't think she's meant to be a gender-bent version of Norrin Radd as Silver Surfer. I think she's just a version of Shala Bal from the comics. In the comics, she eventually became Galactus' herald after Norrin Radd rebelled against him, and she had been in a relationship with Norrin Radd. Really big deep cut for that too. If you've been watching any of the new Marvel animated series, like they have the Marvel Animation logo, the play in front of all those series, like the new Spider-Man series or X-Men 97, in those you actually see footage from the 1990s Silver Surfer series. Shala Bal was actually featured during that briefly. I think what they're going to say in the movie, those are simplified things, the way that Marvel movies tend to brush over a lot of stuff, and they'll say in this alternate universe, she's always been his herald, Norrin Radd in this universe was never his herald, and they'll just wait till he gets to the MCU in some later movie to have Norrin Radd become Silver Surfer in the future Marvel movies. One of the few benefits of multiverse tropes is that you can do stuff in alternate universes and then just say it was happening in that alternate universe, and going forward in the main universe, you could do stuff a little more comic book accurately. But in the same way Galactus' heralds work in the comics, they always seek out new planets, new sources of cosmic energy for Galactus to consume. He is called the Hungerer in the comics. His whole purpose is to consume energy from planets and act as a sort of controlled burn on the universe, preventing overpopulation. Ironically, what Thanos was trying to do in the MCU, then eventually used the Infinity Gauntlet to speedrun that, reducing the population of the universe by half. Galactus exists in a sort of yin-yang type of relationship with the Celestials. They create new galaxies, Galactus destroys older ones. Typically in the comics, Galactus tries to avoid the Celestials though. If you're wondering who would win an actual fight, Galactus versus the Celestials, so they actually try not to do that often. But it would be cool to see them throw down at some point in the future of the movies. That feels like something they should have tried to do during the What If series. There are a couple changes they're making to Galactus for the purposes of the Marvel movies. So in the comics, Galactus is not a multiversal being. There's a version of Galactus in every single universe of the multiverse. But what they're doing in the Marvel movie version of this is they're saying that Galactus is a multiversal being. There's only one Galactus for the entire multiverse. Based on a new report about the plot of the movie, it seems like the real reason why Galactus comes to their Earth in this universe is because he wants Franklin Richards to remake his original universe that he came from. Really big deep cut for Franklin Richards' powers in the comics, their long-running relationship, Franklin and Galactus, and Galactus' origin in the comics. If you haven't followed either of those characters in the comics, they've had a long-running friendship of sorts in the history of Marvel. It seems like the movie is speedrunning their whole relationship just a little bit for the purposes of the next couple Marvel movies through Secret Wars. But this means in the movie, they're also adapting part of the original Galactus story when he first debuted. It's just called The Coming of Galactus. This is in the 1960s Fantastic Four comics. And it's also a bit of a deep cut for the Inhumans. For those of you asking, when are they going to do the Inhumans again in the live-action movies? Galactus originally came to Earth for that first time after an encounter the Fantastic Four had with the Inhumans, so you can kind of blame the Inhumans for the reason that Galactus originally came to Earth to consume it. Norrin Radd's Silver Surfer detected the encounter they had with the Inhumans, then power to the sense felt like enough to sate Galactus' hunger, so he brought Galactus to Earth to feed on the cosmic energy. But while they were there, the Fantastic Four wound up turning Silver Surfer to their side. Reed Richards was able to get Galactus to leave without destroying the Earth by threatening him with the Ultimate Nullifier, which is another big deep cut for the Watcher. The Ultimate Nullifier is one of the most powerful weapons in the comics, which was created by one of the other Watchers, not Uatu. But I don't know if we're going to see Uatu in live action in the movie. We've seen the Watchers in live action during Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but Uatu was not there. But supposedly the movie is going to reference the fifth dimension, like Reed Richards will talk about the fifth dimension, which is where the Watchers live in the MCU. So my assumption, because the Watcher was such a big part of that original Galactus story, and they're mentioning the fifth dimension in the movie, we'll see some kind of reference to the Watcher if he doesn't actually appear himself. He might just have a small cameo. But Galactus wanting Franklin Richards to remake his original universe is a change from the comics. Franklin's most powerful ability is creating alternate universes whole cloth. Like, little kid can just create alternate universes at will, like it's no big deal. They wind up using this ability during the most recent Secret Wars a couple years ago in order to remake the multiverse, one universe at a time. My early theory right now is that they're using this whole concept in the Fantastic Four movie so that they can set up the idea of him doing that during Avengers Secret Wars, and just casual audiences will understand it because they already dealt with it during Fantastic Four. But in the comics, the big change is that Galactus never asked Franklin Richards to recreate his original universe. That's like a brand new thing for the movies. But it is a big deep cut for Galactus' origin in the comics. It sounds like we're getting a version of that in the movie, like he'll explain to them why he needs Franklin Richards, why he's so important. Galactus originally used to be a normal human scientist named Galen of Ta. He came from the previous version of the universe that existed before the last Big Bang. This gets into the real world concept, like this is a real thing, the whole cycle of Big Bangs. The idea is that the Big Bang created the universe, or the multiverse really. It slowly expands, eventually many billions of years later it suffers what's called the heat death of the universe, and slowly contracts again until all matter condenses so tightly that it causes another Big Bang, remaking the universe, and then the cycle continues over and over again. They wind up dealing with this a bunch during the Ultimates comics. Currently, the present day of the comics, the characters are in the 8th version of the universe. Galactus is from the 7th version of the universe. They get into this a little bit in the live-action MCU movies during the origin of the Infinity Stones, explaining that they're the remnants of a previous universe before the Big Bang. But Galen of Ta was the last living being alive in that version of the universe. His last act was, as a scientist, to just observe the heat death of his universe and the destruction of all things. Like, he was just there to watch it all end. But when the universe was going through the next Big Bang and he was in the process of dying, he made a contract with the current living entity, the embodiment of that multiverse called the Cosmos, the 7th Cosmos. It's a little bit like the concept that eternity is the living embodiment of an entire universe. We saw that during Thor: Love and Thunder. But the living embodiment of an entire multiverse is called the Cosmos. That 7th Cosmos was also in the process of dying during that Big Bang as the 8th Cosmos was being born. So the last piece of the 7th Cosmos in Galactus fused into a single entity, and that became Galactus in the 8th version of the universe. They survived the destruction of their universe because they combined. So essentially, Galactus is a combination of a piece of the power of an entire multiverse combined with a human. But the reason why he looks like a giant man walking around in a huge suit of armor like this is because he can appear in any form that he likes. He usually appears as the race of whatever species lives on the planet that he's about to consume. So if he consumed the Skrulls' home planet, he would show up looking to them like a giant Skrull. And because the Fantastic Four are coming to the MCU by the end of their movie, leading into Avengers Doomsday, because they'll be in the MCU during Avengers Doomsday, like big part of the movie, my assumption is that Galactus, as a multiversal being, like the only version of Galactus in the entire multiverse, will also survive the destruction of the Fantastic Four's alternate universe and wind up showing up in Secret Wars eventually. I don't know if Galactus is going to show up during Avengers Doomsday, but at least be back by Secret Wars. And we'll probably see that same Galactus, like exact same version from before, show up in the future Marvel movies after Secret Wars continue to be played by Ralph Ineson. And what they'll probably do is just eventually he'll select a new Herald, and that'll be the original Norrin Rad Silver Surfer, so it'll be more comic book accurate. There's still a ton of questions about what's going on in the movie, what's going on in this alternate universe, and how they're dealing with a lot of these characters going forward. Like, will Franklin Richards still be a little kid when we get to Secret Wars, and after Secret Wars, are they going to age him up to teenager level? They've been talking about doing a Power Pack series too. Franklin Richards, big part of that. We will see. My assumption is that they age him up after Secret Wars. He'll still be relatively teenage level. Like, he'll still be a pretty young person. And because they're doing Franklin Richards, the other question too is, are they going to do Valeria Richards, who is his older sister? It seems like in the movie they're saying that Franklin Richards is her first child. So if they wind up doing Valeria Richards, she'd have to wind up being his younger sister in the MCU. Her origin story also gets tied up with Doctor Doom. There's a whole lot going on there. We will see how they deal with that after Secret Wars, because I don't think that Robert Downey Jr. is going to continue to be the main Doctor Doom after Secret Wars. I think they're just using him for the next couple of Avengers movies, and that's it. Which I think most people are totally fine with, even casual fans and hardcore Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom fans from the comics too. Like, much rather see a more comic book accurate Doctor Doom going forward. That being said, I would not be surprised if Marvel continues to try and bring Robert Downey Jr. back every once in a while, like every several years, into his 90s, just like Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. They'll be doing this till they're 90. They'll just find other ways, other characters to say that he's playing when he does come back in like 10 or 15 or 20 years. Wheel him out on the stretcher. Who's he playing this time? The interesting thing about that too, people are like, why don't they just use AI to bring back some of these really old or recently deceased actors? Robert Downey Jr. has been unique in the last couple years in that he's said that he is never going to allow any movie studio, not just the Marvel movies, but like any kind of movie studio, to ever use AI to recreate himself or his voice or anything like that in any way, even after he dies someday. He actually joked that his law firm will actually be very active after he does pass away, suing anybody that tries to bring him back with AI. But if you've actually been following this, there have been a number of actors that have died recently that have come back in that way that have been totally fine with that. So it's kind of all over the map in terms of actors and their estates, who's cool with them doing that and who's not cool with them doing that. Really good example of an actor who's let them do that is James Earl Jones, who passed away a while ago, but he signed a contract with Star Wars that allows them to use his voice whenever they do Darth Vader voice. So that's why whatever winds up happening with the future of Star Wars movies in like the next 100 years, he will always still sound like James Earl Jones when he's speaking with his mask on. But if there's any other questions you have about what's going on in the Fantastic Four movies that I haven't addressed in this video or my previous videos, just write them below in the comments and I'll try to add them to my future bonus videos. And the really big reminder is that it is the Super Bowl this weekend. We've already started to get some of those trailers. I'll do videos for as much of it as possible. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that. Everybody click here for my new Fantastic Four trailer video, and click here for that new Thunderbolts trailer with the Sentry. I'll update the link as soon as I post that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.